This video is going to be about at a crossroads, as per the title. So, when you've actually been on the fence about a decision and you knew that if you went one way, it would not be a regret, but if you went the other way, it would also be part of who you were, or at least I thought you identified with. And you start to be able to make sure that you know how to beat the inner wussy and be able to know that even if you're being yourself, you can still be different. And that's a lot of controversies and paradoxes and dilemmas people have, is like they know that who they are is as ideal, but they can still be better than even that. And that's the balance between, and actually balance is an important part of this video, but like that's the balance between self-improvement and being grateful for where you are in the present moment and living in that moment. So being at a crossroads, I've been on the fence for plenty of things, both controversial and particularly able to be public, I guess. Either or, anything between, the balance of those things. So being at a crossroads doesn't have to just be about how you anticipate making a decision, but also if you can actually think about where middle grounds can be made and the importance of those middle grounds, even if they're still indecisive. And that could be its own controversy, obviously. But when we make decisions, we don't just think about if there's always like the right thing, which is ideally or even obviously or only one thing at a time, and the best thing, which would imply that there's two more options, and even the one size doesn't fit all, meaning that there's multiple options for different people of their own, and then the just do what you want, which would imply that there's even more than 5 options. That's not the logic, but yeah. It's interesting because when we always have a fork in the road in our lives, obviously. We always have a fork in the road where we don't have to know where we're going to go, what to do, the butterfly effect of what our decisions will do, not having to overthink that, so you can just go for a decision anyways, just acting, being more in our actions, or being even more in our thinking patterns. I guess those be their own decisions. But there are still decisions that can be made without acting or without thinking. And that's the beautiful part about that, is that that's not always implied. And that can actually be helpful to understand like that. But, if even in a different context. So I would advise you guys to think about things that you have not done or thought about and given a chance because you knew that you were going to have to jump over the fence at some point. But you would, for most of you, and even myself, the problem isn't that we have something to leave behind. It is that we think we have something to give up. And in addition to that, it's that we also know that we should know that the only thing that we have to give up is what we're supposed to lose. And it's not even like losing is a bad thing in itself. So, it's just thinking that you have something to lose in order to get what you want. It can be a very bad mindset to have, even if it's actually true to some extent. Usually it's not. And when it's not, you know that it's actually going to make it like actually a bad caveat to just cling to something that isn't meant for you anymore. And you can know better, especially if you jump over the fence. But even before that, you can believe that and be in that energy. But even with it being not true, you can still make sure that what I said before about the experiences betray the instances, that's applicable in like 5 different situations and philosophical scenarios. When your experiences betray, when even your wisdom, that's kind of a paradox because that's not how wisdom works, but I'll say it like this. When even your wisdom, let alone your experiences, make it so you don't know how to make a decision that actually would be better for your life, then even your own experiences of wisdom has failed you, but that's not to say that you will not know any better. You just have to make sure you can take the risk, even if it's still beyond what you already have in an omniscient, understandable light, which is possible because you know that there's enough things that you know concretely and factually that even if you did act against what you did know for sure was a fact, you wouldn't be betraying yourself. You would be exploring things that could be better for your life, creative, all that. Which ties back into the circle of what I'm talking about being on the fence about certain things and being at a crossroads. When you make certain decisions, it doesn't mean that you can only pick one decision as well. You can also make sure if you pick multiple things at the same time, it's not that it's not that you're being even more indecisive. Is that you're trying to make sure that when you pick multiple things at a time, that's its own strategy. It's its own approach. And another thing I'll throw into this is that, as I said made several times before, choosing not to act is an action in itself. So even not making the decision, just because someone can make it for you, doesn't have to be a bad thing in itself. I think people who said that were making decisions so that other people won't have to make it for you, that sheds a pretty awkward light on the idea that, yeah, it's true to an extent that you don't want people to take over your life if they were going to do it anyways. But that's, if they would, then what is the point trying to avoid that? You know, it's escaping something that doesn't have to be that way in the first place. I think it's just it's a weird thing to throw out there. Maybe a straw man, but I have an argument to become straw mans in the future if I can. I don't believe in straw mans or SJWs or attention seeking. There's a lot of those controversial subjects I can talk about later if I need to in these other videos that I'm making lately. But to think that you have to have something to run away from just to make a decision, that's not how you should be doing things anyways. I'm pretty sure that if you want to actually, even if you were to evade someone by making a decision, the best way to do that is make a decision that proves that them taking that chance away from you isn't the point. And that's the best revenge, in my opinion. Not in the bad light, but like, the best revenge is to be better than someone who is trying to take that away from you, if they even could. And that's not to say, that's not the fact that they never could, but it's just like, the best revenge is to be better than someone who is trying to spite you. And I don't know if that was too relevant to what I just said earlier, but you know, it's a beautiful thing to be able to technically move on for a situation that you may or may not have had to drop a particular. But I obviously don't see it that way for some reason. But I just just not just once in that situation. So what I'll leave you with is that it's okay to make a decision especially when it makes your life better than people will believe, or even if you even rather you would believe it to happen. Because again, as experiences portray the instances, if you make that decision and it does help your life before you believe it to, then maybe that was worth it. But the even better thing is that even if you choose not to make a decision, or if you repent for something, obviously like an addiction is a good thing to resist and abstain from, but like PMO, as I keep saying in these videos. But you'll know for yourself that you're at the peace of mind to know the difference between things that you should act on or not. I've learned that pressuring myself too much to do certain actions, even when certain situations eagerly depended on making a decision, and I chose not to do that anyways, because I knew that if I was going to be consistent on a foundation I cared about, that involved not making a decision about things that people or situations would make me feel like I'm supposed to make a decision, but I really shouldn't, because I knew what I was doing. And even if I was being stubborn about that, it was still trying to be a foundation that I knew would paint me in a bad light anyways. And even if I was going to be wrong about that, then I would still have a way to believe what I'm doing and not crack on my foundations too much. And it's a beautiful thing to know you're not being selfish and stubborn when you actually are trying something better for yourself and people won't believe you. And that's always a bit of a projection on my half. But, but yeah, just being on a crossroads, don't give up on any literal, physical, spiritual, mental, emotional decision you make. It doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter how it counts as a decision, or even it doesn't count as one at all. Make a decision for yourself that proves that you had the choice that you could make that would be the best for you, or even the right way for you. However that's defined. I'm not saying it could be defined in any particular way, but and even if I'm being too subjective about that, as per the objective fact of that. Yeah. But, yeah. Make your own decisions, but don't worry about how they're classified. That's as far as I would take this. I'll keep going, but I just had this prop. You may have heard it. I just had this niko prop fall over. I'm like, oh crap! Now I can't make that tutorial for the stop motion thing. Sorry, Patreon. I had to make him for this video on a thumbnail, but yeah, being at Crossroads is not a bad thing. If you have more options, it means that you have more things. One more thing. This is a quote I made like a month or two ago. There's two quotes I got for you. Okay, so the first quote is the best thing is a no. It was like a okay. I'll just say it like this: the best thing is a reassurance. It's not the right way to say it, but like the best thing is a reassurance. The right thing is a promise. There's the first part is not the right way to say it, but the best thing is. But that's not how I meant to. Right. Best thing is a. I don't have to look this up, but like the best thing is a reassurance. The right thing is a promise. And the second part was that there was another thing I was gonna say about this. It was just like Like for being at a crossroads. And I'll go longer than this, a little longer than this video. I don't mind. But what else? Because I was just talking about the prop, talking about the patrons, talking about the tutorial. So best thing, the right thing, and then having multiple options. When you know that the alternatives that you can take are ideal, the main path you were on no longer is the one you should be taking. I think the best way to rephrase that is that if there is any alternative to what your main route is, your main route is not going to be right for you or best for you. I think there's another way to rephrase that, which is that if you have any alternative that is stronger and more ideal than where you're at right now, then the decision you're about to make, or the decision you could make, is not the right way. And I could say just best way for that to inflate that a little bit, but I'm trying to figure out how to say this in the same video without editing it. Now you know my thinking process. That's more valuable than my thinking process than to have it trimmed out for all the crap I could be saying. But and now we're beyond the 11-minute mark. I think I said the proper way one time before, not the properest way, but any option that you have that is stronger than the main option is if there's any alternative to your main route, then the main route is no longer the ideal. I think that's what I wanted to say like that. Yeah, okay. So yeah, if there's even one alternative to the main route is no longer ideal to you, and that's, you know, I could always be refined over time, but that's what I need to say. So take care, everyone. This has been another video with the claymation props. I'm running out of them. Both of the 2-hour props or 1-hour props with the quickly manipulate spontaneous creative prop thumbnails. I can make more of them, obviously, thumbnails and videos, but that's all I got. And I will see you in another video. I didn't mind showing my thinking process. I really didn't. I still have more video ideas to go with. So, and be sure to pledge me on Patreon, as I said in the last video. I'm giving you time to figure out which crossroads you're going to be at right now. Are you trying to figure out when to stop this video? Because I am. That's actually what I literally do. Take care. I'll see you in another video today or tomorrow.